Hi, it's Richard Campo from Rose Capital Partners. In this short video, I'm going to talk you through the three main things you should think about if you're looking to get a buy-to-let mortgage. Now, the first is always going to be how much can you borrow? And sadly, there is no straight answer to that question due to the way it's assessed. But if I walk you through a very vanilla example that gives you sort of a feel of how it works. Now, firstly, the banks ignore the interest rate you pay on the mortgage itself, so just completely disregard that. What a bank might do is take a nominal interest rate of say 6 to 8%, is probably where they sit at the moment, and then they, on top of that, apply something called an ICR, an interest cover ratio, and that's to cover things like tax, rental voids, maintenance, etc. And that can be as 145% of that higher figure, sometimes as low as 125%. So you've got a huge variance in not only the rate that's applied initially, but also then the calculation that sits on top. And lastly, that does change in time. So obviously, depending on where interest rates are, if they're higher, those calculations will be higher. If they're lower, they're going to be lower. So it's very fluid, it changes in time, and it's also driven by another factor, which is if you're looking to buy in your personal name or via a company. So if you buy through a limited company, those calculations are slightly easier. They're on the lower end of what I talked about. If it's in your personal name, they tend to be on the upper end. And also if you're portfolio landlord as well, slightly different rules apply as well. So it's a very complex area. Sorry I can't give you a straight answer, but that's broadly how it works. Now, secondly, a bit more straightforwardly as well, is how much deposit do you need? Now, primarily it's driven by that first point, because even if you've got a sort of quite large deposit to put down, if those rental calculations don't stack up, they don't work. So again, to give you some sort of broad percentages to take away, the minimum is generally 25% deposit or more, and if you put down a 50% deposit or more, you tend to get a lower interest rate. But I appreciate with a buy-to-let you're often looking to gear as much as possible. That's why that first part is the largest factor and the biggest one to resolve. Now, secondly, how much will it cost on a monthly basis? Now, that depends on how you set the loan up, and that breaks into two broad parameters. The first is always going to be the product, so whether you go fixed or variable and how long you want that for. And then secondly is the structure. Do you go interest only, repayment, or do you mix the two? Now, again, as I've spoken about, the product here is really imperative to understand, because, for example, if you go for a 5 or a 10-year fixed rate, those calculations tend to work out a lot better. So it's great to have choice, but if you want to leverage as much as possible, you may not have as much choice as you think. Now, I've barely touched the sides of this huge topic today. I've touched on limited companies, ICRs, deposit levels, all these things that are very complicated. So if you want to learn more, I've linked in the page to our website that has a podcast, a lot more information. There's some stuff you can play on the website as well. But ultimately, if this is something you'd like to talk about, please get in contact, and myself or one of the team would love to help you.